This is actually, yeah, if you can't tell, it's the Gamecube version again. I don't know, I thought I'd do a video on this and do a couple of weird videos too. Um, it might be cool to put up, I don't know. I'm starting to consider maybe going for, like, some of the other videos now. I guess, but, but it would be nice to have these one-offs here for, yeah, what's this video? It's probably gonna be for, the lore? And I did say there is definitely lore differences between the, yeah. There was definitely, lore differences on the, throughout the versions of Prime. So, I might as well, yeah, do a video on it. Something that's kind of weird is that this everything I'm doing in this video also will have something to do with the remastered version. Okay, so let me just get that out of the way. The lore you'll be seeing in the trilogy version is going to be the exact same as what you're going to be seeing in the remastered version. But on the Wii, you know, the Wii version's trilogy version. But I don't know. I might also show off the boss fight for Prime because the lore there might be different as well. Just in the scan entry, some of the scan entries might be different here as well. But I don't know if I just want to go through and do a. I might just do a run and try to go for the scans. I don't know if I'm gonna read them. I might. I don't know. But whatever. Having a video like this will be awfully convenient and better than just having to watch an entire playthrough, I guess. But okay. So the pirate data, Metroid Prime, test subject ZD, hereafter referred to as Prime, was recently discovering a cavern by mining crews. It quickly dispatched the miners, but was eventually contained by security units and drones. Once contained, we were able to begin studies upon Metroid Prime. The results have been astonishing. It is genetically similar to Metroid's, albeit on a highly evolved level. It displays a limitless capacity for phazon and fusion and shows no phazon-based degeneration whatsoever. It continues to grow in size, and while it has manifested some psychotic behavior, the cold fields we use to pacify remain effective. Authorization for advanced studies on Metroid Prime have been approved. Now, again, I'm going to say some of the lore entries that you'll be reading here are going to be different. And this is the NTSC version, right, of the game on the GameCube. The Wii version, and that's as well for the remastered version on the Switch, is gonna have a different bit of lore, and they're gonna tell certain things differently, like about Prime here. Like and we, like for instance, that is not how the that's not what the telling was about the interaction between the space pirates and Metroid Prime here. That's not what they were talking about in that. But yeah, in that version of the game, you know, if you're wanting lore entry or whatever, you should probably consider the trilogy version over this one. But I don't know. Take everything you're seeing in the NTSC version and the GameCube version with a grain of salt, because and just go off of what weird, I mean, whatever. Uh, but you know, so the fact that Metroid Prime is thought to have been a Metroid, right? And the space pirates in this, right? What it was saying. It quickly dispatched the miners. Yeah, but it was eventually contained by security units and drones. Once contained, we were able to begin studies on Prime. There was also albeit on a highly and a display limits, it used to grow in size and well, and it's like manufactured authorization for advanced studies on Prime. Yeah. There's probably going to be some other things mentioned about it. But mining operations have begun near the crater where Phazon appears to be most concentrated. Daily Phazon yields have increased 44%, and mining systems become more streamlined and as personnel and equipment flows increase. Several incidents of Phazon-induced madness have been reported, prompting ongoing life support regulations in the deeper chambers. Symptoms include loss of equilibrium, erratic respiration, muscle spasms, and in the most extreme cases, hallucinations. A timeline reassessment for the refinery operations recommended as the material proves more unstable than initial analysis indicated. What's funny is that, you know, they don't mention that bit about Metroid Prime supposedly being a Metroid in the later one. So it's kind of weird, isn't it? But they do mention it here. Field team reports are in on an age structure of alien design built on the surface of Talon 4. Studies show this structure projects a containment field. This field bars access to a prime source of energy within a deep crater. Science team believes the field is powered by a number of strange shows of artifacts. We have found some of these relics, and studies on them have begun. As this field could hinder future energy production operations on Talon 4, we must dismantle it as soon as possible. If this means the destruction of the chosen artifacts, it will be done. So there is talking about the impact crater. That's where we're at right now, because on this file, we supposedly just killed Ridley. And we're like literally right next to Prime, and chronologically we'd typically be fighting Metroid Prime. But, you know, before we, you know, there was a temple right here, and the ghost spawned or whatever, like, honestly, man. But, so they obviously were investigating it, right? And, yeah. Well, you know, they found this place there, and they went to that conclusion, right? Of course. But they, in another area, they randomly found Prime because of the Phazon mines, right? The Phazon mines are on this planet, right? And, you know, they started digging, and they found it in another area, I guess. But it's in a different place now, so it's like, what? It's a bit weird, but they, yeah, supposedly the Chozo sealed this fucking thing down here in this way or whatever, and then conveniently the space pirates find another way to get to Prime, and conveniently they run into it, have it in a fucking stasis tank, and it's like, what? So what was the point if you can supposedly see the future, right? If you can supposedly see the future, with making this fucking thing. I don't know. That part is just a little weird, right? But supposedly, they made, the Chozo supposedly made the fucking shrine, and they did all that with to keep it down here, to keep the Phazon from getting out. And whatever, I guess the Space Pirates fucked with that, and they found Phazon another way, and Prime, with what the Lawrence was saying, man, I swear, but little team reports are in on an age structure of it. Yeah, I just read that. Special Forces. As we continue to observe the development of Project Helix, Elite Pirates, it becomes increasingly obvious that these warriors will usher in a new era of space pirate dominance. They are incredibly resistant to damage, and their ability to transport and wield so many weapons at once makes them the ideal mainstays of our ground forces. Though they are not as quick as typical pirates, it makes little difference. With a platoon of elite pirates in the vanguard of an army of normal and flying pirates, we will have a near indestructible backbone that should turn the tide in any engagement. So, the elite pirates that they're talking about here are pirates that they experimented on with Phazon and infused with them in this game. The beginning of their experimentation of Phazon, and they go to a much larger degree in the later two games, and yeah, I'll probably be making more videos on that later, but I don't know, or videos on what's going on there, but the elite pirates, obviously appear to have some sort of mental issues, and their lifespans are incredibly shortened, but they also have, they gain abilities that they didn't originally have and become much more of a threat, much bigger, but there's a lot of cases where they've had failed experiments where the individuals have probably died, or they've, even with some of the more successful ones, as they start getting better with it and figure out the type of Phazon that they need to infuse with them, with these elite pirates here. Later on, there's going to be different types of Phazon that they're going to be using that's better than what they're using here, and what they use for some of the suits and shit and equipment they use later on, but it's kind of like, but we don't have to worry about that with this game right now. They're just looking for things to use against the Galactic Federation, right? Against Samus. And, I don't know, they're finding all this shit about the Chozo out, and they're wanting to blah blah blah, I mean, what do space pirates do? I mean, not to mention, what do pirates do? That's pretty self-explanatory. So, obviously, they're doing everything in their power to try to... But, that's pretty, As we continue to observe the development of Project Helix Elite Pirates, I just read that. Studies of Metroid biology continues, though with limited progress. It seems likely that we will be much more successful using the Metroids for our means rather than trying to reproduce their powers. If they could be adequately tamed, we should have no need of a proper understanding of their metabolism. A small force of disciplined Metroids could wipe out entire armies, and once we find a way to shield them from cold containment weapons, they will be invincible. Furthermore, if we could then harvest the energy they consume, we would have a near limitless source of power at our disposal. It's kind of weird because, I should add this, supposedly, a lot of the lore, a lot of it that they change in the trilogy version, supposedly it might not be canon. But there's stuff of it in this that's just, questionable, because, there's still things that are just left not explained, or things that would have made, I don't know, you'll see what I'm talking about. But, obviously, the Space Pirates obviously have been experimenting with Metroids as well, which is the game's namesake. and the way they're about it is very similar to what they've been doing with Phazon, of course. And they bring up Phazon here. No, but whatever. But they do try to mess with Phazon with them as well. Results are in from field studies on extinct bioform group Chozo. Believe that Talon 4 was once a stronghold of a great Chozo empire, brought low by the meteor strike. Planetary devastation brought an end to the Chozo, yet remnants of their society remain. We are studying these relics in an attempt to harness their power. What is of no use to us, we destroy. In time, we shall have all we need from this dead race, and shall wipe this planet clean of their ugly ruins. The dead should not serve the living, should serve the living, not hinder them. Yeah, whatever you say, bro. Zebus has fallen. All ground personnel are presumed dead, either killed by the hunter clad in metal, or in subsequent destruction of the underground facilities. Our research frigates, Orpheon, Syracuse, and Volparagon were in orbit at 0 hour and managed to retreat. Frigate Orpheon is now docked at Vortex Outpost. Orpheon's cargo appears to have 100% survival rate. Metroids are healthy, but on a restricted feeding schedule due to an uncertain supply status. We are ready to begin research on the Metroids and other promising life forms. Security status remains at code blue. No sign of a pursuit from the hunter. You know, what I find weird is that, that's also in the, they kept that lore entry in the trilogy version. I don't know, I'm sure if you compare both versions, yeah, that's in the same one. But reading that or whatever, you probably get the idea that this game probably takes place after Zero Mission, of course, but before Metroid 2 Return to Samus. Now, if you play Prime 2, it makes you go, there are certain entries in there that make you go, does Prime 2 take place after Super Metroid? It just makes you wonder. I don't know. And Super Metroid obviously takes place after Metroid 2. So, and this game obviously is before Metroid 2, so the order of those games is kind of weird once again. And I hear people bringing up that, I don't know, if, I don't know. Some people, I believe, have theorized that the new remake, Samus Returns, takes place after Prime 3. And Prime 3 connects to Samus Returns. I don't know if that's true or not, but I would see, the, what happens in that game, the direction he would take after that in a way. But again, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Like the way things were after Other M with the lore and stuff, and what, I don't know, a bunch of people were saying. A lot of things are left unexplained, and the way things actually connect, especially when you consider things that you might see in the manga and shit, it's just like, why? But Metroid Prime continues to feed and grow ever larger in Impact Crater Caves. Its hunger knows no bounds, and it has begun to manifest unusual mutations since its breach. These include armor plating on its epidermis and mechanical outgrowths that generate defense screens. These screens render it invulnerable to most weapon systems, but a flaw of the mutation leads to increased vulnerability to certain weapons. It compensates for this by shifting the screens quickly. This latest development concerns security units greatly. They feel it's a matter of time before Prime corrects this defect and renders itself vulnerable to all weaponry. Containment would be nigh impossible if this were to occur. What I find weird about this lore entry, what is it referring to? I'll just show it and just really quick, I guess. I'm also playing on, Horde mode. So you're going to be seeing the Horde mode fight of this. And some of the recent videos I did was the normal mode on the trilogy version. So again, you're probably going to be seeing a bit more from me, in terms of my skill, but whatever. Which, you know, whatever. Not that I'm actually, like, doing very much here, but... Now, if you do this right, you know, you can just completely blaze through this room without getting caught by those Metroids, but I was just being stupid there, but whatever. There's always a setup or whatever, that I always did to do this without getting caught by those guys. But you can just choose to fight them normally. Those are fission Metroids, by the way. If I feel like it, I'll show how to kill them, but I didn't exactly show how to kill them in without power bombs. Now, you don't have to use Ice Beam there. I mean, he's very whitish, but let me just, eventually he'll split into multiple like that. You notice that one is yellow. There's a reason for that. And that one is purple. The yellow ones you have to kill with Power Beam. I don't know, I'm not sure if many people care to try and do this on their own. But yeah, that is certainly something to note about these fission Metroids. And somehow, you know, and there's red ones for plasma. And there's blue one. I mean, well, you know, white ones for ice. But that first part you can probably just hit with plasma shots. And I'm not even using beam combos, but beam combos are probably more effective. It's just like, you know, the wave ones use the wave buster. The power beam ones you just use the, you know, the super missiles. The ice beam use the ice spreader. And I guess if you want, you can use the plasma buster. Not that's any good. But obviously these guys go down really quick to a well-placed power bomb. Most enemies do. And that's generally what most people do against them, and especially in speedruns. But, yeah, it's kind of weird how I'm just moving there even while they're grabbed. That's something you can do with the movement if you're good enough, but, and then me knocking me around and shit or whatever, well, keeping me from fucking my jumps and shit up. That is happening because, you know, obviously I'm jumping in the air. If I'm just, they won't actually knock me off or anything if they just, ram into me, but, typically I would place the power bomb here once I got here, but waste one. Oh yeah, you're just gonna boom. Okay, fuck off. Come on. But yeah. If I'm playing on the trilogy version, they don't tend to knock you around like nearly as much, but But yeah, anyways, that's Metroid Prime. So, what word was that orange referring to? Well, it looks like a crab slash spider entity for some reason. If you notice, I'm not even gonna get into the controls I'm using for this, but I'm obviously having. It's weird, isn't it? You know, the Fission Metroids are, you know, use a similar tactic to Metroid Prime here. You notice it? It's very subtle, but you can just note. I mean, yeah. And, you know, a lot of the enemies, a lot of the pirates later, you know, like the wave troopers, the ice troopers, oh yeah, they use a similar fucking technique, don't they? I'm sure there's something to that. I'm not gonna say what it is, but no. But actually, you can just, like, stand here or whatever to keep from getting hit by him. And once again, I'll state this. Hard mode, it's kind of like, it's pretty much hyper mode, but there are some differences that make, hyper mode slightly harder. Not really. It's kind of like veteran difficulty that kind of makes it slightly harder than normal mode. But, again, yeah. And I'll go ahead and scan the, actual boss here. Really quick. And I don't know, it might say something different compared to the scan in the trilogy version, but I'll just show this one. Prime, highly evolved phase-on producing life form. The aberration known as Prime is the source of phase-on, making it immensely powerful. A genetic flaw makes it susceptible to certain weapons. For brief periods, only its head is truly vulnerable. Other attacks are a nuisance. Offensively, Metroid Prime has a number of natural and mechanical weapons at its disposal. These include ultra-frigid breath, multi-missiles, snare beams and particle wave projectors. Its massive strength and barbed carapace make it lethal in melee combat. Recommended maximum firepower when engaging him. It might be the same thing, I don't remember, but I could look back at the footage just to confirm, but if it's the same thing, because I got the scan for this as well, and whenever I did the run of trilogy version, if it's the same thing, I'll just leave it out. But just using the Wave Buster here. Yeah. Prime just kills your missiles on hard mode. He's probably easier than, he's probably easier than, the Omega Pirate. Obviously, you don't have ads in the fight, you know, but whatever you want to fucking call it, I don't know, but I'm sure you can just powerbomb those guys, of course, or whatever, but most of the time, you know, like in a speed run, for instance, you're probably not going to have all power bombs whenever you fight them, and if you're doing a legit route, Oh yeah, yeah, you're probably gonna not be having every single item if you're not doing a 100% run, I guess. But, yeah, all my missiles are already gone. Yay. Hmm. You know, I should really bring this up too, you know. If you're playing like, how do you, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure some people have a lot of difficulty with like, you know, I don't know. Everybody remembers, I don't know, anybody who had the 64, I really didn't play very many 64 games. I haven't really even used a 64 controller, but, um, you know, using different controls than like the original gaming controller, like for instance using like a PS2 control setup, like it's going to feel extremely weird, and a setup like that is probably going to be harder than what you get with a gaming controller, right? Like trying to do everything the exact same, like, I don't know. I don't know. Like for instance, if you have like the X button as the jump button, the A button as the you know, um, God. I mean, those, that's gonna be like, really close together and feel extremely weird, and then, like, no, yeah, R1, yeah. If you have the, um, that on the, yeah, that's gonna feel extremely weird compared to what you would get on a gaming controller. Like, you know, I'd practically have to do a fucking claw grip just to keep playing the game. You know, if I have it set up like that on an emulator, it's gonna be, like, kind of weird, huh? Not to mention, let's, you know, be bringing up, you know, I'm sure some people, you know, there's like a sequence break called the BSJ or SSJ. You have to do a weird fucking claw grip just to be able to do that on a gaming controller versus what you're doing on like a Wiimote and nunchuck for the SSJ, which is probably far easier on your hands. But for somebody who's practiced and used to how all that is feels, you know, I mean, it's a very good excuse to just go and play an emulator or something, or, you know, I'm sure they give you a lot of different control options for, like, you know, the remastered version, for instance, too. So, you know, you would have that option on the remastered version. I don't know, and I don't know, there's obviously going to be easier and harder ones to use there as well. So you can use that as a method to get better at fighting specific bosses or playing the game, and it's kind of weird because I don't know, there's a sense of irony I'm bringing anything up about the Nintendo 64 because there was never a Metroid game on the Nintendo 64. but kind of funny, but bit ironic, but I know certain people don't like mentioning this too. But I guess I will. What is Samus's name? Well, I just said it right. You know, what does it mean? I mean, you know, what does the name mean, right? Because I don't know if certain people know this, but there are, you know, I don't know. Like, for instance, if somebody is named Dexter, for instance, it'll have a specific meaning, right? Samus also kind of would have a meaning as well if you really put it together. So, and I'll get to what it probably means in a minute. I think it actually adds to what I'm talking about with the lore here in some way, but that's just me. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. Once you get to this point in this game, too, it's kind of like... even though, you know, again... the Omega Pirate might feel harder. Kind of strange. And then you got Ridley showing up, and then, you know, that feels even easier than this, so, like, honestly. But, some people might also have some, like, depending on what you're doing with a Wiimote or nunchuck, it might, I mean, people have different tastes too, but, now that I'm actually getting down here, right? Oh yeah, it looks like we beat him, but no, we didn't actually beat him, did we? So what was that he was wearing? Well, in this game it's like, oh, well maybe he was wearing a fucking, you know, the space, I don't know. You read the lore, what it was saying about him. Metroid Prime, the core essence of Prime, scan interface at the phase-on energy form of Prime is invulnerable to all unconventional weapons. Only attacks from a phase-on fused arm cannon will damage it. It generates pools of phase-on when it attacks. Use these to fuel your suit's phase-on weapon system. The entity can also spawn Metroids to assist it in battle, rendering itself invisible when it does so. But, we have the phase-on suit which we got from the Omega Pirate. And we wouldn't even been able to beat him unless we beat the Omega Pirate. If the Omega Pirate were by himself, he'd probably be easier than Prime here. The pirates certainly help him out. and we can only use a specific beam. It's called a phazon beam here. But, and it, for some reason, tells us it's hyper mode. Like, if I go into pause menu, you can see the beam there. It's called phazon beam for some reason. But, um, it'll constantly, like, change to, so that you can't, see him. Using a similar tactic as before once again, and you'll see certain boss fights also, which do something similar. Kind of weird, but and now I'm gonna go back in here. But, and once again, ugh, well, damn it. I went ahead and just muted it because whatever. Let's see here. And let's reread what I was saying here. Studies of Metroid biology continue through limited progress. It seems like we will be much more using the Metroid... Okay, not that one. But if I read this one, test subject ZD, hereafter preferred as Metroid Prime, was recently discovered in a cavern by mining crews. They quickly dispatched the miners. But it was eventually contained by secure units and drones. Once contained, we were able to begin studies upon Prime. The results have been astonishing. It is genetically similar to Metroid's, albeit on a highly evolved level. It displays limitless capacity for phazon infusion and shows no phazon-based generation whatsoever. It continues to grow in size, and while it has manifested some psychotic behavior, the cold fields we use to pacify remain effective. Authorization for advanced studies on... Yeah. And then there was that other one that I think I read. Which one was it? Prime mutations. Prime continues to feed and grow ever larger in the impact crater caves. Its hunger knows no bounds, and it has begun to manifest unusual mutations since its breach. These include armor plating on its epidermis and mechanical electrodes that generate defense screens. These screens render it invulnerable to most weapon systems, but a flaw in the mutation leads to increased vulnerability to certain weapons. It compensates for this by shifting the screen quickly. This latest development concerns security units greatly. They feel it's a matter of time before Prime corrects this defect and renders itself vulnerable to all weaponry. Containment would be... yeah, it compensates for this by it's a matter of time before Prime corrects itself, this defect and renders itself invulnerable. Containment would be nigh impossible if this were to occur. So... with all that black shit on him, all that crap he was using, it probably obviously had something to do with what was being talked about in that lore entry. But most terraforming and retrofitting of security checkpoints on Talon 4 is complete. But we continue to research the alarming epidemic of breaches by local creatures. Door records show no unauthorized entry, so we must presume the creatures are either slipping in undetected during daily personnel moves or else finding their way in through subterranean tunnels. We have found many small breaches of this latter sort and plug them wherever we can, but it is unlikely that we will ever achieve full extermination within our current time period. That was just some stupid lore entry about, I don't know, breaches in their labs and shit. Like, God, I don't know what the fuck that's all about, but, because they set up bases on this planet, of course. Yeah, and then crash their fucking frigate ship. Like, I don't know, because whenever Samus first arrived here, I guess. But, to study what's going on this planet. I mean, there were two facilities, of course, that they had created, and yeah, obviously we kind of see what was going on there in the lore entries, and kind of like what they've been doing, what they kind of, Not just with what we're reading, but what we're fighting. You know, um, and the kind of things that are just in the rooms and shit. Uh, I don't know. If you really do some digging, it can. I don't know. About like the name of Samus, right? Um, it sounds similar to Seamus. You know, it would be supplanter, and then it can also be interpreted like this or whatever. She who supplants an island, or she who conquers an isolated area by force. It's kind of weird. Since I'm bringing that up. And we know that crap about how Samus is a bounty hunter. If the name is just by itself, of course, Aaron probably has something closer to do with There's actually multiple sayings for this. Like I don't know. There's one thing for made of. Okay. Multiple different. Like a compound wall of a temple, or for what the fuck, or then I don't know. Made of thick undyed wool with its natural wheels. Like, the last part. I don't know if that's legit their last name or anything, Aaron, but, and then something about traditional style knitting. I don't know, I could draw a connection there to Layla and the sheep, you fucking idiot. Why you even, honestly, dumbass. But, bringing everything that I was saying there, they clearly, I don't remember who it was that named Samus originally. I think it was the Chozo. I don't recall though. Yeah, I remember that part. I don't remember if I don't think she ever used the names that her parents gave her. I don't think they did. I think Samus Aran is legit a name that was given to her from the Chozo, which is incredibly weird. I don't recall though. That is weird. But so putting everything that I was saying about her, they raised her to be some type of warrior, obviously, and later she just became a bounty hunter working with the Federation, of course. So it's like, yeah. We have codified the newfound energy source as Phazon, a V-index mutagen of which we have very little reliable data. Indication points to a meteor of unknown origin impacting approximately 20 years ago, expelling Phazon into the environment. This material appears to possess lifelike characteristics, mutating organic life forms strong enough to withstand its poison. These mutations appear promising, with abrupt evolutionary leaps appearing in single-generation reproduction. Plans to establish a full science team on Talon 4 are being finalized. Yeah, that adds to what I was saying there. Yeah, about them setting facilities up here on this planet. There's a okay, what I was referring to there. There's a manga entry at that point in the manga that I remember was where Ridley shows up and then has his way with their parents or whatever and whatever. But yeah, that was certainly a thing. Yeah, and then There was also, you know, Ridley also in the manga appears to be talking and shit like he had a voice. And given what we know about Ravenbeak later on, supposed to be a clone of him, many times in the games, the clones of Ravenbeak, Ridley, never really talks in the games, which is, I don't know. But Ravenbeak, I guess, does. That's kind of weird, but, um, you know, it depends on how. Was she a baby in that? I don't remember. I know she was young, but I don't remember she was a baby. Um, but there were probably other things that I picked up from the manga that were kind of noteworthy, like about Mother Brain and things I seen from Mother Rim, and that kind of add to it, of course. Um, like supposedly, the kind of things that the Chozo were doing with Samus whenever they did things to her DNA. Supposedly have a connection to Mother Brain and possibly being able to control the Metroids. So, yeah. Elite Pirate Epsilon's propensity for Phazon has enabled our research team to infuse it far beyond our safety restrictions. Also, Mother Brain also had like this weird mind control ability. She probably could have controlled the Federation if she wanted to, so, Samus is legit this fucking, like, honestly. But, and it's also, it was sort of a Samus was sort of a mistake in some way. I don't know, or I don't know. You could, if you really look into it, I don't know. And here, if you look in the lore entries, there are some Chozo that might have seen something about Samus, and they were like, blah, blah, blah. But not all of them did. A lot of the Chozo were very fucking, like, honestly, man. They obviously had a lot of... they were a huge society, right? But some of them turned on each other, went bad, like Ravenbeak, and then... and that's especially evident with some of the lore entries you might see in Samus Returns, but I'm not going to show any of that here. Elite Pirate, it's probably something I should bring up, considering everything that I have mentioned, that I'm going to be mentioning in this game about the lore here. But Elite Pirate Epsilon's propensity for Phazon has enabled our research team to infuse it far beyond our safety restrictions, and the results have been extremely encouraging. Its constant Phazon diet has increased its mass exponentially, but it has retained all mental faculties and shows dexterity with all elite weaponry, including plasma, incendiary launchers, and the chameleon manta issued for cloaking purposes. Elite Pirate Epsilon exhibits miraculous healing abilities. When injured, it seeks out Phazon deposits and coats itself in the substance, which instantly mends the creature's wounds. The subject, which we are codenaming Omega Pirate, based on these developments, shows potential to be a new standard for our armies. Our only concern at this point is potential overdependence on Phazon. It's kind of weird how this thing that they created might also have a tie to Samus as well. Obviously, it gave the suit to her in some way, but if it wasn't for the Omega Pirate, she obviously wouldn't have been able to beat Metroid Prime. So, because she wouldn't have the Phazon suit, and she wouldn't have been able to use the Phazon beam. But, with everything that I'm just bringing up here, but, as I go along here, you'll see in the Chozo lore that they bring up that, I don't know, they bring up stuff about like this chosen one and shit or whatever that they blah blah blah. But you'll see what I'm referring to. But and it all has something to do with Samus again, and then it probably again has something to do with. It just adds to other things that I've said from the manga. Scans of the spiral sector detected a massive energy spike emanating from a Wanderer-class planet and identified as Talon 4. Scout reconnaissance was immediately dispatched to the center of the spike. A landmass at heading mark for returning with planetary samples and atmospheric imaging. Analysis shows the energy source to be an unstable, radioactive material of enormous potential. What type of radioactivity? We are unable to form an accurate risk assessment at this time, but we are unlikely to find an energy source as powerful again. Analysis will continue, but currently Talon 4 appears to be a viable secondary headquarters. They're talking about Phazon. There are many cases where they talk about radioactivity with Phazon, but they don't explicitly state what type of radioactivity. But assuming that the suit picks up radioactivity anyways, it's probably harmful to humans. But if it's harming us. But there have been numerous incidents involving spectral entities at Chozo ruin sites. Several personnel have been assaulted by these Chozo ghosts. Few have survived. Survivors speak of swift attacks from nowhere, brief sightings of the enemy, then nothing, only to be followed by another attack. They just fucking hate space pirates because they're an embarrassment to the Chozo. Whatever the fuck you even know about. But science team believes these attacks are in response to our efforts to recover Chozo relics and artifacts. Somehow these entities are able to interact with the physical world, and it appears they wish to keep their artifacts to themselves. Will it make them pay for such arrogance? For even ghosts can be destroyed. You know, I wonder, because the fact that I'm even there are some pirates, space pirates, that appear to have an appearance similar to Chozo. Kind of like Ravenbeak. So, in other words, they might be mutations of the Chozo. It's something else that I'm bringing up here. So that's probably why I was joking about that. But yeah. It also appears Samus probably has some sort of effect on the Federation too, so maybe she's able to. There are probably other reasons why they're able to not be mind controlled by Mother Brain, but something about that probably is, yeah. There are lore bits that are just kind of weird and don't line up very well. Because even certain things in the manga and then other stuff here might be just, yeah. But, just throwing that out there. But, and that's the case with certain games that, I don't know, but that can be the case with a lot of big franchises, even, like, that was probably the case with, but it's mostly seen in, like, I don't know, the manga mostly. You don't really see very much in the games very much, other than, like, other maybe. But, I can make comparisons with, like, Devil May Cry, because Devil May Cry 2, for instance, what that game does with a lot of the plot and shit, but subject Metroid Prime breach has been contained. Reports indicate that it has sent a large batch of raw Phazon in the lab from within its stasis tank and broke through the glass using previously unsuspected strength. Besides consuming all of the Phazon, Metroid Prime assimilated several weapons and defense systems from fallen security units. Dude. This fucking thing is, like, honestly, it has suffered no ill effect from set assimilation. Indeed, it began to use its newly acquired weapons against us. Once we were pacified, Once we pacified it, we were unable to remove the assimilated gear without threat to Metroid Prime. The gear is now an integral part of its body. Command is intrigued by this newfound ability and has ordered further study to commence at once. Our initial tests exposing Talon 4's indigenous parasites to Phazon appear to be successful. Increases in strength, size, and aggressiveness are common in all test subjects, and that was the first boss, turning those little tiny piss ants into fucking, like, I don't know, those giant fucking creatures that, whatever. As well as unforeseen evolutions, like additional poison sacs within the abdomen, and the appearance of a second ring of mandibles in several subjects. These creatures were chosen because of their resilience, really, and it appears possible that given enough exposure to Phazon, they may one day. No, let's just be real. Let's be real here. The only reason you chose them was because they're parasites, and there's like large numbers of them, and I don't know. They swarm and shit or whatever. Yeah, that's obviously the only reason why you did. Let's just be real here. They may one day be able to survive on any planet we transport them to. Our methods will have to be refined. We currently have a 100% extinction rate after the 4th infusion period, and most survivors of the 3rd infusion stage are so violent and uncontrollable that they have to be euthanized. Even still, we remain hopeful that further experimentation will result in success. Yeah, I guess we should add, the Parasite Queens to fucking Chosen One list. Like, what the fuck, man? Fuck you, Space Pirates. Fucking pieces of... No. Meta Ridley. The reconstruction of Geoform 187, codenamed Ridley, was recently completed. After his defeat on Zebes, Command ordered a number of metagenic improvements for him. Though aggressive, we were able to implement these changes in cycle. The metamorphosis was painful, but quite successful in the end. Early tests indicate a drastic increase in strength, mobility, and defensive capability. Cybernetic modules and armor plating have been added as well. We believe our creation, now called Meta Ridley, will become the mainstay of our security force, a job he will certainly relish. Phazon program. Phazon mining is underway. Several garrisons have been established in terraforming of the Chosen ruins is underway. Security systems are operational, and science team continues to make progress in their biotech research. The Phendrana Drifts have proven to be an optimal location for research headquarters, and soon it will be joined by a fully operational combat base in Starport. Command's predictions are half true. We shall rise to dominance in this sector within the Decacycle. Truly, these are glorious times. You know, I've seen videos of people just making one-off videos of showing where the items are. I might do that, or even where the scans are, just by themselves and shit. I don't know. I might, just segmented though, like into like just energy tanks for a video, or missiles for another video. Like maybe not just this game, but it might be more significant if I'm just making videos on the scans. Because not very many people do that. Just the locations of them, I guess. But just like a little checklist if they need it or something, or I don't know. I don't have to, but whatever. It'd probably be useful for future stuff, I guess, for myself even, maybe. I don't know. But Metroid morphology. Damn it. Metroid dissection continues to provide more questions than answers. Our research teams have isolated the energy conduits that run from the invasive twin mandibles to the energy core of the creature's prototype nucleus, but the manner in which a Metroid actually extracts the life force from its prey remains an utter mystery. The victim does not lose blood or any other vital fluids, and yet the Metroid extracts energy. Identifying this energy is our central problem. It takes no physical form, and yet without it, the victim dies. We will continue to research the matter, as the isolation of this life-giving essence could be the key to our ascendance. Oh, really? I don't know. maybe they're starting to look into this because of this fucking creature that they've, I don't know, judging by the lore here in this game, and this version of the game. But there's probably a reason why I'm saying that. You can compare it to, oh yes, the energy draining bullshit to the, like how deadly the Phazon is in some way, I guess. Phazon can corrupt you, you know. Phazon can corrupt you and make you psychotic and go after people and blah blah blah. That's what it's been shown in the series, right? So what does that tell you? It's kind of weird how Phazon almost appears to work like a drug, almost in some way. If you put enough into someone, it could probably kill you. Typically with drugs, right? So, is that what's happening with Metroid Prime here? Oh. We are particularly interested in a number of curious Chozo artifacts we have been able to recover from a number of religious sites on Talon 4. These relics resonate with power, and yet we are unable to harness them in any way. Science team is attempting to fuse them together with Phazon, believing that a link might exist between them. We know that these artifacts are linked to the Chozo Temple that blocks full access to the impact crater. We have yet to crack this enigma, however, Command grows impatient regarding this matter. Results must be produced soon. Now, those fucking Chozo artifacts, you know, they somehow have some tie to our suits. Oh yeah, maybe they were trying to reverse engineer them. Oh yeah, because obviously we can manipulate and do stuff with them. The Chozo have made their own versions, but they customize one for Seba to specifically use, and she does whatever with it later on, of course. But and a lot of the power-ups you'll tend to find in this universe are probably related to Chozo or other creations that works with the suit in some way. So they're probably using a similar tech to be able to create these things. Not to mention, it's kind of weird because they are somehow supposedly, you know, tied to Pacific ghosts that appear whenever the impact crater opens. And the portal down here that it apparently creates, or whatever the fuck it is, you know, is tied to 12 ghosts that, I don't know, powered this fucking thing with their souls. So, I don't know. For all we know, every fucking power-up is somehow tied to, a Pacific suit power-up, like for instance the Very suit being tied to Old Bird or whatever, because for some reason he tended to use that for some reason. I don't know about that, but because Old Bird was typically somebody that appeared in the manga. You might see a screenshot of him in Zero Mission, but again, that I'm getting, I don't know, these are just stuff that nobody's really like that's not really stated in the series again, and it's just stuff that you could just theorize and shit and bring up, but confidence is high regarding Phazon applications. We know enough about Phazon now to begin combining it with Space Pirate DNA. The code name for this venture will be Project Helix. Preliminary studies indicate that Phazon infusion could produce radical new pirate genomes. Malevolent mutation levels are high in current test subjects. Phazon madness is a concern, but refinements in the infusion process to reduce or neutralize the odds of mental degeneration. Obviously, these This clearly gives you mental health issues in some way. I was stating that, just like that lore entry is suggesting in some way, I guess. Um, and initial transfer of even they were trying to create some sort of fucking treatment for it in some way. It appears like that, which is kind of stupid. But initial transfer of Metroids to Town 4 research facilitates has been completed. 3 were terminated in an incident at the landing site, but the others were pacified and transported safely. I mean, what am I reading? A fucking, like, conspiracy theory that some fucking FBI weirdo did at one point in time? Yeah, whatever, you fucking idiot. Testing is underway. We are eager to observe the effects of Phazon on Metroids, especially their ability to absorb and process the energy given off by Phazon sources. Early research suggests that considerable growth in power inside. Whether the creatures stay stable thereafter remains to be seen. I might have read that one already. I don't know. Security Command issued on all points alert after the fall of Zebes. The alert concerns bioform Samus Aran, also known as the Hunter. Subject is a female hominid, or a bounty hunter. I don't know why they specifically call her the Hunter, but whatever. As it's heavily armed and extremely dangerous. Subject uses a powered armor suit of unknown design in battle, along with a number of potent beam and concussive weapons. These guys are fucking idiots, man, I swear. All combat units are instructed to terminate Aaron on sight, preferably in a fashion that will allow salvage of her power suit and weapons. A considerable bounty will go to the unit who delivers Aaron to command. Dead or alive, it matters not. Even these idiots try to have some sort of fucking, I swear, God. Initial Project Helix experiments with space pirate embryos were disastrous. The Phazon infusion process degenerated brain tissue even as it augmented muscle mass. None of what we have termed elite pirates have lived to maturity. The few that survive their infanthood suffer severe psychotic breakdowns as juveniles. These guys are fucking desperate if they're messing with this shit. Killing anything within their zone of perception. Research team, Sclera, well, I guess you have to do whatever you can when you're on the run, or fucking, pirates and against everybody and fucking shoot them, whatever. Made a recent breakthrough in which parasite studies with a Phazon strain codenamed Vertigo were highly successful. Since then, we have fused Vertigo Phazon with space pirate DNA with great success. The latest batch of elite pirates have reached maturity successfully and are ready for field testing and training. It's kind of weird because, if I go back, there is a red Phazon back there. There's a red Phazon that still hurts us, but a lot of the blue shit doesn't actually, and, we never see red Phazon again in the later games. So, I don't know, if there's like a blue Phazon this shit or whatever. Maybe there's a blue Phazon suit. Well, a red Phazon suit. But they didn't work on that, did they? And they probably didn't feel the need to if it's only seen in this area, I guess. But on this planet, in this fucking galaxy that they're in this, whatever. Yeah, Research Outpost Glacier 1 in the Phendrana Drift region of Talon 4 Mountains is operating at 85% capacity. Sub-zero temperatures have made the Metroid sluggish and easy to control. Even those well into Phazon infusion cycles, cold containment stasis tanks are sufficient for the juveniles, but some of the larger Metroids have been moved to quarantine caves for safety purposes. Security doors remain an issue, as malfunctions due to ice occur every day. Large predators in the waste are also a concern, as they continue to kill personnel and breach secure areas. Unfortunately, it has become clear that our containment teams cannot neutralize all of them without a vast increase in munitions and soldiers. Science team is attempting to reverse engineer Samus Aran's arsenal based off of data acquired from her assault on our forces. Progress is slow but steady. Command would dearly enjoy turning Erin's weapons against her. We believe we can implement beam weapon prototypes in 3 cycles. Erin's power suit tech remains a mystery, especially the curious morph ball function. All attempts at duplicating it have ended in disaster. 4 test subjects were horribly broken and twisted when they engaged our morph ball prototype. Science team wisely decided to move on afterwards. It's like fucking idiot. God, like, what are you trying to do here? Isn't it weird, I could compare this to, like, emulation and shit or whatever, with trying to work with certain controls or whatever and perfect them or whatever. I mean, certain people could just, or get the same thing. It's kind of like, yeah. It's kind of different if you're just intentionally limiting yourself for some reason, but I don't know. Maybe I brought up like stuff about like the DS, and I never really cared about like emulating the DS, of course, but I'm sure everybody remembers these little stylus that you have to fucking use or whatever. Like, honestly, man, but I mean, I'm sure with everything that I have now, it wouldn't be that hard for me to do anything with it, but I don't really care. But, do I even care about hunters? Metroid Prime hunters. A second plague has come upon the land, dousing the last flickering hopes of our race. Well, now we're reading the Chozo lore here. Drawn by the very force we Chozo hope to contain, a host of marauding creatures descended from space and invaded our temple, the Cradle. They try and invade and destroy. It'd be incredibly weird, though, if I'm like, if somebody was that desperate with video games to just go, oh, let me just go ahead and honestly, yeah, that would be fucking honestly retarded, man. But oh, let me just experiment on like and just fucking physically maim other people to fucking just be able to keep up with other yeah, okay, that is just why, but the Cradle, they try to in vain to destroy it, but its power remains beyond them for now. They possess some of the 12 artifacts we call the Cipher, yet do not comprehend their function. Ignorant creatures, they are blinded by illusions of harnessing the great poison for their own designs. They walk about as masters of the planet, assimilating the ruins of our sanctuary into their experiments. We can but watch and wait for our doom. The congregation of artifacts that hold the great poison at bay still holds strong. Fearful of the potential within the artifact temple, the invaders, known as space pirates, try to destroy it, only to fail in every attempt. We scattered the artifacts across the planet for their protection, and only a few have fallen into invaders' hands. Failing to understand them, they now seek to unmake them. Again, they fail. See, here they kind of don't explicitly mention anything about, I don't know, what I was saying about the space pirates being mutations, of course, but I knew that, but whatever. But they clearly appear to have known about him in some way here. Destroyed only to fail in every attempt. We scattered our and only a few have fallen into invader hands. Failing to understand them, they now seek to unmake them. Again, they felt they are right to fear these things. Having the fearful of the potential within the artifact, the invaders known as space pirates tried to destroy it. Yeah, the invaders known as space pirates. I mean, I guess you could call somebody an invader because, in a way, because of the Chozo living on this planet Talon 4, right? Of course, they have multiple planets, but again, I'm sure most people know that they had control over multiple planets. I'm not sure if these... You gotta keep that in mind. Did these Chozo know that these particular Chozo, I'm sure they have some sort of governing society. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, at some point in time. That they know that this was, probably, but again, I'm sure they're just keeping this planet in mind when they say invaders or whatever, um, but again, they're just being kind of stylish with how they're talking and shit, I guess, here, but whatever. Great power sleeps inside them. Okay. Uh, they are right to fear these things. Great power sleeps inside them. Prophecy calls for their union. Yeah, as I was stating, because you could probably come the day that the unholy worm is met by the great defender. We can only hope the artifacts are not destroyed by the invader, for then all will be lost. So we do what we can to preserve the artifacts and to guide the newborn to them. The newborn is probably Samus. The worm is Metroid Prime. Time wanes with our souls, yet hope remains. They speak in riddles. It's kind of like, what am I reading, the Bible? But why? I don't know why I'm making that joke, but the cries of this dying land pulled us from our dreaming state, unlike the space pirates, and they're trying, I don't know, if they do read this at some point, they try, I don't know, they would probably be, I don't know, it's kind of like them observing, like, the artifact temple and coming to these conclusions that they've gotten to by observing the different things on this planet and what they were doing at the time and inviting them or whatever. And then, us looking back on the time of the Egyptians, I guess. But, and trying to reinterpret what that society was like in some way, I guess. But, except we probably didn't bring them to their knees or anything, I mean, I guess there were specific societies that probably might have went to that conclusion at the time, whenever the Egyptian race fell, but, remember correctly, but, so it would probably be a kind of, nah. The cries of this dying land pulled us from our dreaming state, and now we Chozo walk as ghosts while the great poison sinks into the trees and waters, devouring all life. Some creatures survive, but their forms grow as swift and evil as the forest that fell from the sky. The heart of the planet will succumb soon, and so will we. Even in our ghostly states, already many Chozo have faded and passed into the unknown. The great poison is unlike anything we have glimpsed in this or any dimension. It eats relentlessly, warming out life where the great poison is probably supposedly the phazon. Warming out life wherever it blooms and corrupting what it cannot kill. It will be our undoing. Our last hope lies in the cradle. The temple we hope might contain this abomination. It is almost complete. The cradle is where we entered into to fight this guy. It is almost complete, hovering over the impact site. Obviously, these were made in the past, way before a lot of lore entries with the space pirates were probably made. The dark heart of this spreading evil. If we can finish before the last of our kind drifts into madness or death, there is a chance for this world. If we fail, we are doomed within it. Our sanctuary grows by the day. We Chozo know much of the tech, but we have chosen to leave it behind on this journey. It's kind of weird how they were with this planet, because I guess they kind of talk about how they are with it, but they were incredibly intelligent. They just chose to live like hunter-gatherers for a while, I guess, or in some form or whatever, and chose to be green and naturist here, I guess. Talon 4 will be a place of simplicity, structure hewn from the stone, bridges woven from with branches, hallways caressed by pure waters. We build around the ancient and noble trees, drawing from their strength and giving them our own in return. All that is wild will flow around us here. Our race will be just one more group of creatures in the knit of nature, and it is our hope that such a state will bring with it great wisdom. a greater understanding of the nature of the universe. Once our study here is complete, we will peer inward and discover the truth. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the Chozo appear to be very, they seem to have a very, I don't know how to describe it. They're talking about being inward and shit or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. It's kind of very, and how would thinking outward be? And approaching life outwards, trying, yeah, I gotta do stuff with my finances. I gotta fucking blah, 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 blah. If you're thinking inward or whatever, I gotta perfect how I am with emotionally. I gotta blah, blah, I guess, but, so it's kind of like what their viewpoint here is, I guess. What they were saying there, what their direction they were wanting to go, I guess. And I don't know, like I said, there are changes to this. It's going to be probably stated differently, and yeah. But it might say something similar in some of these. Not know if our temple, the cradle, will prove powerful enough to contain this evil forever. How can we Chozo hope for it to remain intact when that which it guards rides in the darkness? Growing always stronger, the fate of this world rests with the gathering of artifacts we call the cipher, but even it is not all powerful. It is strong, yes, an enchanted hole made of 12 links. Still, it is finite in its reach, and we who guard it are slowly succumbing. When our vigilance crumbles away into madness, the cipher will be exposed, and the fate of Talon 4 will be beyond our influence. Isn't it kind of weird how I'm just, I don't know, after reading this, I'm just like, I think, some of the Chozo have been, affected by the Phazon even as ghosts. That's why you see them attacking us constantly. After a certain point in the journey, right? In Prime. But, some of them are probably, unless they're the same ones, just intentionally attacking us, just, do something and train us in some way, which, at that point, it gets kind of stupid, but, I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but I'm willing to believe the yellow one, I guess. Oh yes, there's only 12 ghosts on this planet running around doing shit, and none of them got infected by Phazon. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's, I doubt it. Prophecies tell of the coming of the worm, born from parasites, nurtured in a poison womb. The worm grows, devouring from within, until the world begins to rot. The words of the seers have come to pass. For there, in the depths of the world, the ravenous worm lurks and feeds. From the stars it came, biting Talon with its great poison. We can but watch as the worm grows. Watch and wait, for the prophecies also speak of a great defender, the one who delivers the world from evil. The final days draw near. Is the newborn the defender of which we seers spoke? We shall do all that we can to aid her, for she bears our legacy as she bears the ancient armor and weapons of our people. Back what I was saying about the Chozo before, being some sort of, Samus being this warrior that they train or whatever. They didn't originally, believe she was some savior, galactic savior or whatever. A few of them were later on or whatever, oh yeah, we're gonna do this with you, you're gonna blah, 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 yeah. You know what, we're gonna go back on it and just go, yeah, you're the, yeah. At first they were we'll just blah, blah, blah. A lot of them went their own ways, made enemies and just, some of them probably didn't even speak or talk, learn things to each other, and were isolated, for instance, here on this planet, supposedly. That's what I would probably assume, I imagine, if you were drawing connections to everything in the series, but Um, so, they were probably having some similar conclusion with Samus, but they probably have never seen a lot of the ones on this planet. On this one, on Talon 4, they probably have never seen her in their life, and including the 12 that were, yeah. But there are probably others who did, who raised her, that's probably, pretty believable and wouldn't be a surprise. Um, let's see. I believe I was on Fountain. At the highest point of our city lies a fountain, a wellspring of pure water that flows throughout our civilization. It is the jewel of the Chozo, the life giver, and yet its waters speak of a clouded future. As we come to understand the past of time and space more clearly, we have begun to glimpse rough tatters of past and future, glittering behind reality like soft lights behind a curtain. We have seen the fountain in these glimpses pouring darkness instead of water, and we cannot guess what the visions mean. So it's here they were just like, I don't know, this is, in Chozo Ruins, we fight Flagra. The water in that area was what they were using to, for some reason, I don't know, because they chose to live like that. And then they started, what they were saying, they began to be able to get an ability to supposedly see the future, maybe. That's what it's saying here. So, some of them began to get that way for some reason. Which, again, but given the plot, maybe, I don't know. We Chozo are departing now, after so many years in peaceful seclusion here on Talon 4. When we came, this place was a refuge for our spirits, a civilization built from native materials, bereft of the trappings of our tech. We were linked in, if there's ghosts and shit, well, and all this other shit, it's probably pretty believable in this universe. We were linked to the land here, inward to the plants and animals, far away from the machines we had become so dependent on, and so we leave it now pristine, a testament to the mortal forms we no longer need. We have drawn the veils of time and space aside, and are withdrawing beyond the illusion, but we will never forget this. The most sacred of our homes, and we will remain ever watchful. Exodus Hatchling Shell? I did just read that one right. Hatchling Shell. The hatchlings walk among us. Are these dreams, memories, foretellings? Time and reality swirl together like estuary waters, and we Chozo know not what to believe. She appears as ghost-like as the Chozo, but at times the mist clears. We see her wounded eyes, and remember the child we found so long ago. What has she become? This newborn? Clad in Chozo armor, wielding weapons our hands once held, does she dream of the Chozo as we once were? Does she long for her parents, lost to the same creatures that even now defy our sacred home? Does she still live? And again, you can tell some things are, so they're probably peering into the future in some of these. As we struggle with the great poison, something stirs at the edges of our vision. It is the hatchling Samus. We feel her across the void as she hunts the corrupted. Will our faith again be one? As our pride shatters, will the prophecy become real? When all strength wanes from the Chozo, will it be the hatchling who fulfills our legacy? True sight eludes us, for the poison gnaws at all vision, leaving seers blind and filled with despair. Truth's blessing may come till too late. We have returned to Talon 4, born here against our will by a great cataclysm from the reaches of space. A meteor came, casting a dark shadow of debris over the land with the violence of its impact. Though we perceived this from beyond space and time, it was but a curiosity, a brief flare in the infinite march of the universe. But the meteor brought with it corruption. A great poison burst forth onto the land, clawing at life with such violence that we are ripped from our peaceful state and find ourselves wandering as shadows of the mortal forms we left behind, searching for why we are here. You know, something I've got of like, this is a thing that they state that probably happened to the other. Okay, contain. There's more. The world of living things so strange to us. We who have existed so long on the edges of time and space. It is clear now that we chose that can never return to our dimension, not while the great poison reaches ever further into the planet. It is so powerful, this creeping evil, that our wills are crumbling and our minds beginning to fail. So in the in Prime 2 and 3, there are meteors that are involved there as well. It's brought up in the lore. So the same thing that happens to those guys happens to Chozo on this planet here. So, yeah, this is all tied to all that. So supposedly what these guys are saying, the meteors, this phase-on, Metroid Prime, possibly was from another planet. Okay, no, it was from another dimension. Yeah. It is so powerful, this creeping evil, that our wills are crumbling and our minds beginning to fail. And so, before it is too late, we now make our last stand. We have begun to build a temple to contain this darkness. At its heart, many Chozo have gone beyond now, and this is a mercy. Those of us who remain suffer in dimensional flux, drifting helplessly across time and space, guided by unseen and inexorable currents. The Chozo who cling to sanity fight the tide, but our minds are weakening. Soon we will all be like the Turn, Chozo, who have been utterly corrupted by the great poison. They even stated that was probably a thing. The Turns still hold to their Chozo forms, but their minds are black with fell intentions. Gone is their respect for life. They honor only destruction and seek to disrupt the artifacts holding the great poison at bay. All life taunts them, and they do not rest. Before long, they will be all that remain of the Chozo here. More and more, our tormented minds turn to the newborn, as the world continues to shift into brutal, disconnected images. She remains inarguably real, a fearless figure delving deep into this blighted world. Unmindful of the terrors that await her, was she this way before? When we Chozo found her, a fledgling orphan on a savage planet, did warrior's pulse already beat in her veins, filling her with righteous fury? Our hopes lie with her. We leave these messages for her, that she may find our artifacts and deliver the world from its evils. Race we may be, but our reach is still long indeed. We shall fight the invaders and the poison they would master until the end. As we have done for millennia, we Chozo work constantly on our sanctuary. The statues are our sentinels, blind but ever watchful. They are, and have always been, repositories for our most precious secrets and strongest powers. I remember reading I probably read some of these in the past, and thinking that, some of there's the ion enemies, like it had somehow some connection to them, and then later on I've read some other shit that made, like, on the walls and shit, other scans that aren't exactly tied to lore entries that made me go, maybe not. But, I don't know. The crafting of each is a long and sacred process performed only by those Chozo who have lifetimes of experience in such things. I'm sure they were just referring to, like, the Hall of the Elders. The statues there. The statue there, for instance. And there's other statues that appear on this planet, of course, in these rooms and shit, but we have left these relics on planets across solar systems. Some are merely reminders, silent emblems of the Chozo that serve as icons of peace in lands that know only war. Others wield subtle strength, exerting their influence in ways beyond the understanding of mortal creatures. Still, others are guardians of our secret ways, and these can be as terrible as they are beautiful. Those who respect and honor those relics will know the friendship of the Chozo. Those who deface and destroy them will know our wrath, unfettered and raw. The power of our temple has been enough to halt the spread of the poison of Untalon 4, but that which remains thrives and grows more concentrated, gnawing on itself in the dark passages beneath the planet's surface. Whether it can ever be truly destroyed is for our eyes to see, but there is something else. We Chozo are drifting, tumbling through space and time as the great poison eats away at our sanity. We wake in dreams, as the veil of lunacy descends, as past and future blend and shuffle. One image appears and flickers through the landscape wraith-like. It is the hatchling, the newborn, walking the path of the corruption. A lone figure shining in the toxic shadows. She comes dressed for war, and her wrath is terrible. Do her eyes look backward, seeing the hatchling as she once was, or does she approach even now, arriving in our race's last hour? A savior clothed in machines, crafted long ago by Chozo hands? Poisonous clouds drift across our vision. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the trilogy version really quick. Okay, where the hell did I put, I may be rereading some of the lore, but, oh well. Where the hell, okay, there's the damn thing. Okay, I probably need to do this. I think that's the right level. Okay, I don't need to adjust it. Dumbass. And now I'm just gonna be reading the lore here, of course. There might be differences between Prime 2 or 3 with lore, but not nearly as much as Prime 1, that's for sure. That I just have everything on, so I'll just go ahead and launch a new game and this. And that's something to note or whatever. If you don't have like the full save file, you have to find all the lore and shit manually or whatever every time you do a playthrough, of course. So, let me just go ahead and Yeah, if you notice certain things are just reordered in this. Zebus has fallen. Oh. Zebus has fallen. All ground personnel are presumed dead, either killed by the Hunter-clad and metal or in the subsequent destruction of the underground facilities. Our research for Gates Orphean, Syracuse, and Volpe. Free friggin' restricted. Yeah, that's the same one as that one we read, but a lot of these are in different order here, if you haven't noticed. Security Command issued in all points alert after the fall of Zebus. The alert concerns bioform Samus Aron, also known as a hunter. Subject is a female hominid, is heavily armed and extremely dangerous. Subject uses a power armor, so verbally in a fashion that will contact. Scans of the spiral sector detected a massive energy spike emanating from a Wanderer-class planet identified as Talon 4. Scout reconnaissance was immediately dispatched to the center of the spike. A landmass of heading bar samples of the atmosphere and analysis shows the energy source to be an unstable reactive material. Yeah, that's the same as well. Field team reports are in on an innate structure of alien design built on the surface of Talon 4. Study shows this structure protects the containment field. This field bars access to a prime source of energy within a deep crater. Science team believes the field is powered by a number of strange Chozo artifacts. We have found some of these relics, and studies on them have begun this field could hinder future energy production operations to Talon 4. We must dismantle it as soon as possible. This means destruction it will be done. Based on analysis, we have codified the newfound energy sources Phazon, a V-index meter in which we have very little reliable data. Indications points to a meteor of unknown origin expecting Phazon into the environment. The material appears to possess the power to mutate organic life forms, sufficiently to withstand its poison. Mutations appear promising, with abrupt evolutionary leaps appearing in single-generation reproduction. Plans to establish a full science team on Talon 4 are being finalized. Phazon program. Phazon mining is underway. Several garrisons have been established and terraforming of the Chozo ruins is underway. Security systems are operational, and science team continues to make progress in their biotech research. The Phendrana drifts. What? Okay, so Phazon mining is underway. Several shows that it's underway. Security systems are operational, and science team. Yeah, the Phendrana drifts have proven to be an optimal location for research headquarters, and soon it will be joined by a fully operational combat base in Starport. If Command's predictions are half true, we shall rise to dominance in this sector within a decacycle. Truly, these are glorious times. Initial transfer of Metroid to Talon 4 research facilities has been completed. 3 were terminated in an incident at the landing site, but the others were pacified and transported safely. Initial Phazon fusion testing is underway. We are eager to observe the effects of Phazon on Metroid, especially their ability to absorb and process energy given alpha Phazons. Early research suggested considerable growth. Power inside whether the creature stays stable thereafter. Initial test exposing Talon 4's indigenous parasites to Phazon appears to be successful. Increases in strength, size, and I think that's the same as well. Mining operations have begun near the crater where Phazon appears to be most concentrated. Daily Phazon yields have increased 44%, and our mining systems become more streamlined as personnel and equipment flows increase. Several incidents of Phazon-induced madness have been reported, prompting automated life support regulators. Include assessment for the refinery operation, as the sure proves more unstable than initial analysis indicated. Glacial waste research outpost Glacier 1 in the Phendrana Drift region, Talon Forest Mountains is operating at 85% capacity. Sub-zero temperatures have made the Metroid sluggish and easy to control, even those well into Phazon fusion cycles. Cold containment station savings are sufficient for the juveniles. Security doors remain an issue as I've entered. Security breaches. Meta Ridley. The reconstruction of Geoform 187, codenamed Ridley, was recently completed after his defeat on Sebas. Command ordered a number of metagenic improvements from. Though aggressive, we were able to implement these changes in the cycle. Based on infusion, the code name for this venture will be Project Helix. Preliminary studies indicate that the phase-on infusion could produce radical pirate genomes. Beneficial mutations levels are high in current tests of its phase-on madness is concerned about elite pirates impact crater. Investigations into a possible ingress point for the impact crater continues to meet with failure. The shield of the strange energy that protects it is impenetrable, and all attempts to tunnel past it have proven fruitless. Our continued futility in this matter is made all the more significant in light of the recent life form readings we've discovered emanating from deep within the crater. Analysis of this reading indicates that a massive creature is gestating there, absorbing enormous amounts of phazon from the phazon core at the heart of the impact crater. This discovery makes accessing the crater doubly important. Not only will it open the door to the vast deposits of phazon within, but it will also lead us to this creature, whatever it may be. Yeah, that's certainly a new lore entry they added in this. Science team is attempting to reverse engineer Samus Aran's arsenal, turning Aran's weapons against her. We believe we can. So, judging by what this says, they didn't even experiment on Prime in this one. Oh yeah, they didn't even experiment in Prime in this one. All they did was, they were like, oh yeah, we detected readings over here, we were trying to drill into this fucking area, but we couldn't ever fucking get over here or whatever. Sounds like, like, honestly, man. You know, me bringing this up about, like, you know, yeah, the meteor hitting the planet, it makes me think of, like, you know, how, like, the planet was created, like, in terms of, you know, science-wise or whatever, like, how, like, for instance, water got here, for instance. Like, I don't know, like from meteors possibly hitting the planet or other fucking, I believe they were, like, merges with other planets, right? And which caused the planet to get even bigger and into what it is now, right? So, I mean, comparing it to, like, meteors hitting the planet in that way or whatever, bring phazon to it in this case instead of water or something is just kind of, like, if something like that happened now, and if there's some type of organic material on it or whatever, and we survive somehow, and I don't know. Like, it would be very weird for us, you know? I wonder how it would impact us, right? And now I'm going to go for the Chozo one. The history of the Chozo traces back in ancient times, so far into the fog of the past that we know not where our ancestors came from. One thing is clear, however, the Chozo, who colonized Talon 4, made a conscious choice to choose a civilization of advanced tech. We Chozo chose to live in harmony with nature, guided by the providence of the universe. We believe we will spend peaceful days here and plan to leave our words from time to time. I believe they did more with the Chozo lore in this one. They did a shit ton more with the Chozo lore. Many long years have passed since we Chozo first took root in this land. The passage of time has always been a source of fascination to us. It is the belief of many Chozo sages that the truths of the universe hide within the tumbling currents that time's flow. Even as we search for answers there, however, we find illumination in other unexpected places. We know not how the ability has come to us, but recently many Chozo have begun to sense things beyond the realm of ordinary perception. Strange sights and inexplicable sensations flood our minds, filling us with visions. We take this growing ability to harmonization with the infinite, perhaps finally the universe secrets becoming known to us. Purification. The surges of negative energy brought by the meteor far exceed our expectation. We Chozo are yet to find a way to rid ourselves of the great poison. All we can do now is seal it away and wait for the day when a power to purify the poison appears. However, it is already impossible to collect all the pieces of the great poison, as it has already spread, seeping to the planet and hardening. Many Chozo are gifted with a distant sight and even more begin to learn it as our harmonization with the universe becomes more and more complete. We peer forward, seeing prophecy in the ripples of the waters, hearing rumors of coming days on the breath of the wind. Though we celebrate the distant sight, many of these visions are dark. The worst of the prophecies, and the most common, tells of the coming of the worm. Born from parasites, nurtured in the poison womb, the worm grows devouring from within, until the world begins to rot. Not all prophecies come to pass, of course, but we cannot help but fear this dark portent. Disaster struck suddenly. We had a vague, dark foreboding, and it became true. A meteor appeared from nowhere, casting a dark shadow. You notice they also reorder all of this. A fallen star burned itself out rapidly, and the incident should have faded into memory. But the meteor brought with it corruption. A great poison burst forth into land, a strange energy that clawed at natural life with ferocity. That strange negative energy emitted from the meteor expanded to encompass Talon 4 in a night, as a spider weaves a web. The cries of this dying land echo in our ears as we Chozo watch the great poison seep ever further into the living pulse of the planet. The dark energy seeps into the trees and waters, devouring all life. Peaceful beasts die by thousands. Some creatures survive, but their forms grow as twisted and evil as the force that fell from the sky. Many of these mutated monstrosities remain small enough to do little harm, but others grow enormous and threaten our very existence. One such beast defiles our sacred fountain, disgorging poison from its foul form, replacing pure flowing water with cascades of creeping death. Even in the face of such horror, we Chozo do not turn in fear. We are all that stands in the way of the great poison, and it is our duty to contain it. The future is a vague thing, ever-changing and always in doubt. Even if we Chozo could gain the ability to foresee the future, it would be a hollow gift, or we could never hope to control what has yet to occur. The fountain is an example of this. The day may come when its waters dries up, and there is nothing we can do to stop such a tragedy. But we do know this. Unlike the uncertain flow of water, the power of our will is strong and enduring. The will of the Chozo will never run dry. As the great poison reaches ever further into the planet, we Chozo begin to feel the gnawing of despair before it is too late. We now make our last stand. We have begun to build a temple to contain this darkness. At its heart, we place a cipher, a mystical lock powered by 12 artifacts filled with as much power as we Chozo can harness. We wonder, though, even when we are done, will it be too late? And will the power of the temple and the cipher itself prove strong enough to hold back the poisonous tide that even now swells within the ground, threatening all life? Okay, with what I just read there, it is the belief of many Chozo sages that the truths of the universe hide within the tumbling currents of time's flow, even as we search for answers there. However, we find illumination in others, unexpected places. We know not how the ability has come to us. But recently, many Chozo have begun to sense things beyond the realm of ordinary perception. Strange sights and inexplicable sensations flood our minds. Okay, so there's that lore, and then I go down here. The future is a vague thing, ever-changing and always in doubt. Even if we Chozo could gain the ability to foresee the future, it would be a hollow gift. Okay, so they kind of contradict themselves here. Like, I don't know. Can they actually do it? Like, what the fuck? Hope to control what has yet to occur. I guess either that or they just didn't, like, honestly. Cipher. As the great poison reaches ever further into the planet, we Chozo begin to feel the gnawings of despair. Before it is too late, we now make our last stand. We have great poison. What is this otherworldly presence that infests the land? Seeking out life in its blind need for corruption, and where did the meteor that brought it originate? Was it crafted by alien hands, or is it a roving chunk of a planet that suffered a violent end? Our minds quail in horror at the thought that long ago, in some corner in the universe, as yet unseen by our eyes, an entire planet was perhaps once coated with this great poison. Whatever cataclysm may have ruptured that doomed place might have been mighty, indeed, and if other meteors from it spread through space, bearing this evil to the far corners of the universe, we hold fast to the hope that this is... We hold fast to the hope that this is not so, that the only surviving remnants of this evil are here on Talon 4. Then, at least, there is a hope for its eradication. So many creatures suffer beneath the blight upon the land, and we Chozo are no exception. But for all of our pain, we can at least believe in the promise of the future. We have come to believe that a time may never come when we can once again open the door and advance the darkness we contain. Even so, our vigilance will forever remain. We believe that on some far-off day, a Savior will come and continue what we have begun. For that Savior, we will leave our ancient weapons and armor. The soul who gathered them will be in the Entrusted One, the only being who can reverse the evil that grows here. The containment of the great poison. This task has fallen to the Chozo, and we will not flee from our duty, even as we suffer with the land and its creatures. We will pour our will into the 12, the artifacts that, when brought together, form the lock that holds this great evil at bay in the depths of the planet. This lock must stand up to all who might come to assault it, to preserve the power of the seal and to protect it from those who would meddle for their own designs. We will spread the artifacts across the land, hiding them from prying eyes. The lock must never open until the day comes when this disaster can finally be put right. Throughout our living nightmare, as we battle with this unyielding darkness, we Chozo see a light. This light glows with promise, chasing the shadows cast by the great poison, and purifying that which has grown toxic. It is strange, though, at times it looks into our eyes as if the light coalesces into the figure of a woman. Burning brightly, the luminescence descends from space, then retreats back into the infinite blackness from whence it came. When this prophecy comes to pass, when the light recedes, the Chozo's long vigilance and containment will finally come to an end. Don't know if our temple, the cradle, will prove powerful enough to contain this evil forever. For now, it wraps around the abomination, cutting it off from the world above. However, we believe the power or cipher, which has been produced by linking the 12 artifacts, should be strong enough. The fate of the world is now left to the one who will collect all the artifacts in the future. The time when the Entrusted One knows is approaching. To the Entrusted One, if you read these words, then our hope has not been in vain. Your path is fraught with danger, monstrosities beyond description lurk in the shadows, starving, hunting for prey, searching for ways to quench the poisonous urges that bloom in their brains. Some of these are shrewd, but they are blinded by their evil designs, believing in the black promise of the great poison. They seek to harness it for their own ends. It is these last that are the great danger. When you rid the universe of these creatures, you will be the true Entrusted One. Things bound to earthly shapes are temporal and frail, existing in a single dimension. They are fragile, vulnerable, and ultimately mortal. However, not all things obey this law. Shapeless, they wait beyond the realm of perception, emerging only when one arrives who can feel their presence. You know, with the way these lores are with the Chozo lore, you can make a weird joke about, oh my god, they're wedding a fucking, like, this guy is fucking, like, what the fuck, man, I don't know. Like, and then they're bringing up shit about, like, oh, a poisoned womb and shit, like, oh, blah, blah, is this all related to Samus? You're fucking gross, man, like, honestly. God, man. And some of the differences in these lore are like, oh yeah, the space pirates are believing this black promise. Like, what are you guys racist in this game? Like, I have no idea, man. But honestly, like, are they after a black girl? Honestly, emergently when one arrives who can fill the present, such is the will of the Chozo. I will defeat the evil seeping into this planet remains. And are the other ones after a white girl? I don't know. We desire only to see the darkness meet its end. The will of the Chozo has no mind or reasoning of its own, though this will be the entrusted one's trial. The power of our temple and the 12 artifacts has sealed an evil to the depths of this planet. However, the future is cloudy to us. It will reveals where dark apparitions foot in the shadows. Within this strange world, one image stands out of the mist flickering through the landscape. A wraith-like. It is a human, a lone figure shining in the toxic shadows. We Chozo do not know what it is, but our hearts fill with hope at the promise of that glowing light. We will place our faith in the shrine. We will be there when the light shines upon our land. Buh. I'm sure everybody knows what happens at the end of Prime 2, right? I mean Prime 1. Not Prime 2, but Prime 1, you know, at the end of it, Metroid Prime steals Samus's suit and becomes Dark Samus. And after in 2 and 3, we're obviously trying to fight against him, and Prime 3, it's also the Space Pirates are like hugely involved in that one. But and there's way more lore going on in that. Obviously, a lot of this bullshit probably has an origin. So, what's going on there? I don't know. Judging by what's going on in this version too, or whatever, it seems like there's no mention of dimensions. You know, with the Chozo. But in the other one, there is. So it's like, I'm sure some people know about that too, or whatever, so. And there's a weird cutscene that'll happen if you die in Prime 3, right? Samus will become another Dark Samus. So, what is that telling you? And given everything that we know about Prime here, there is some weird connection to Samus, isn't there? Everything has something to do with Samus, for some fucked up reason. Everything has something to do with Samus. And then, I don't know, I read that, I remember something I seen in Prime 2 as well. A weird, it's like a light and dark link sort of thing, you know. But it's definitely more apparent if you really read the lore and are a lore buff in Metroid, and then just come to this conclusion, right? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, duh. And then, if you do tie certain things together and believe that Prime was somehow a Metroid at one point. Oh my god. And then other things about Mother Brain. Like, oh my god. What the fuck is going on? Like, everything is Samus. Everything is Samus, apparently. Every single fucking person in this universe. I don't know what the fuck. Or the Metroids, the Space Pirates, and blah blah blah. I don't know. It's so weird. I know. There's also. It's weird because in Prime they do bring stuff about dimensions, right? In Prime 1, dimensions there is something that is brought up about a dimensional anomaly in Prime 3. You know, um, there's another dimension in where there's this planet, right? That's brought up in the lore. It's called Phase. So, like, what if an alternate dimension, there's different set of Chozo space pirates and shit or whatever, or an alternate timeline and shit where and then supposedly time travel being involved in Prime 4. There's another connection that's kind of weird that I want to bring up too. Fusion. I'm sure everybody remembers what happens in Fusion. If they played it. I won't be stating it here, but there again has something to do with Metroid Zero. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, us reading the lore and shit or whatever, it's almost like us Metroid fans are the Chozo in some way. Like, what the fuck? It's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah. Like, dude, and, like, what is Samus? A Metroid? A fucking Metroid Prime? The Phazon fucking being a drug and some shit? What is all this crap? Like, dude. Ugh. And that'd be weird or whatever, me bringing that up about fucking, oh yeah, the Metroid fans are racist. That would be fucked up. That would be incredibly fucked up, but honestly, but, I guess you could draw that conclusion or whatever if you want to, but, well, no, you could joke about that, I guess, but honestly, man, and the space pirates are not racist, and I don't know, and this and that, all that good. That's kind of stupid, but of course you're clearly looking too deep into it if you're coming to that conclusion. But it's almost like a lot of the lore in both versions of the game, matter in some way, even if they're not. No. There's a lot of people that go around saying Prime 1 isn't canon. But there's a lot of things that do appear to line up in some way. Even if, over the lore, over the entire fucking series. So, in a way, in some way, the lore we read in Prime 1, it's still technically canon. So, it's like, what? The original Prime 1. So it's like, what the fuck is even right anymore? But, I guess it is kind of weird, though. I will admit that, it kind of takes away from the entire reason we're going down into the stupid fucking, planet's core in the way we do. And the Chozo somehow getting to Prime. No. The space pirates getting to Prime. That lore entry is a little weird, I will admit. But, all the other ones, you could just. All that is just, that one, though, is definitely questionable. That one is definitely questionable. I'll definitely say that. But, And given the time travel bullshit, and what I was saying about the Chozo here with the lore in this game, like, I don't know, like, hey, maybe the Chozo are also time travelers. Just like, Samus's in Prime 4 supposedly. I don't know. They bring up time travel. A lot of videos talking about how there is potentially going to be time travel. Bringing up this stupid fuck substance with phase on, doing this bullshit. Awesome. And then, given what we know about the X-Parasites and the Metroids and all other shit, like, what the fuck? It's like, oh my god. Like, duh. I mean, it's just the substance phase on what it does to you. I mean, it acts like a drug. The shit can kill you. It's radioactive like a fucking, and it's a fucking crazy substance, right? And then, if it causes something weird to happen with Samus, is what I'm getting at here. Oh my god. Causes dimensional anomalies and time travel and so much other shit. Like, what the fuck? I mean, maybe it also has something to do with the Metroids. Like a combination of the Metroids, Mother Brain, and the X-Parasites in some way. But, like, what the fuck? I mean, like, going to this conclusion, it's like one hell of a theory, but why? The lore is all over the place, and you would have to, like, generate some weird, yeah. And even with what I'm stating, there's still probably some. But if you work with this theory, at least it's better than what you would probably get by going through the series and, yeah. But honestly, man, what the fuck? I don't know. What if there's an ending? What if the death screed is somehow canon or whatever, and then Dark Samus is what we're fighting? And there's another ending where Samus is also. It's kind of weird too, I bring this up too. You know what they say about black holes and shit? Oh my god, why am I just in a similar fucking thing going on there, and I don't know. For some reason they say with a black hole, it creates some weird anomaly where it splits you into two different beings. Like one dies and one goes on if you enter one. I don't know. It was something like that. But what the fuck? Like, dude, having a similar thing like that's just, what the fuck? Everything I'm just bringing up here too is just very crazy. But yeah. Honestly, man. Man. Also, here's something else I was gonna get to too. That entire fight with Prime. the way some of this lore sets it up, if you could put it a certain way, I guess, maybe one or the other, is, you can come to this conclusion as well. It's almost some type of test or ultimate final battle or something. I don't know how to describe or whatever. Like Prime is this ultimate being that you had to go up against or whatever. That's just I don't know. And then Samus is like the ultimate savior, ultimate warrior that goes and destroys them. And then I don't know. And this entire series revolves around fucking with Prime in some way. But again, supposedly what we know in Prime 3, he might be dead or gone, but maybe not with time travel. But again, fuck man, it's really fucking weird to wrap your head around. But honestly, I don't know. Every time I go into a fight with Prime, it always the way the Chosen have you set it up or whatever, it's like this one. You're the ultimate savior. You're the ultimate warrior that they've been training to go up against this fucking thing in this galaxy, in this universe, right? So, and then, only in this scenario, you're going up against them. People have, and most of the time, whenever they talk about Samus, it's something to do with Metroid. No, it's something to do with Mother Brain and Ridley and shit. Maybe something to do with, yeah. But even more so if you're going with Prime here. So, okay, that's all I was going to get into with this video, but yeah.